this episode if you have ever asked yourself, what does business growth really look like at different stages? Yes, at different stages of business, you do have to focus on different things because you have different problems, you have to achieve next milestones, and in order for you to continue your growth, sometimes you do need to change what your overall objectives are. And now that I have seen in the behind the scenes of hundreds of businesses, I've been in this business for over 5 years. I did social media management for so long. I've run my family's business. I have been able to kind of identify different patterns at different stages of business and what are the major focuses, strategies, and problems that we see, and then we can figure out how to uncover those to get you to keep on moving through the different stages. Today, I want to kind of break down what the 5 different stages are. Yes, there are some nuances to this, but this is a general observation of what these patterns look like and what strategies you need to focus on. No matter what stage of business you're currently at, whether you're stage 1 or stage 5, it's good to have a good understanding of what is necessary at these different points in order to keep your growth going. So, without further ado, I want to dive in to this week's episode and really speak about what these different stages really look like. The first stage is the building phase. This is when you are making either $0 to $5,000 a month. Your major focus here is understanding the strategy and finding proof of concept. What we're really looking for is understanding who your target market is, making sure what products and what content, what messaging really speaks very well to them. What you need to learn in this phase is sales strategy. This is when you're making under $60,000 a year. You're really just trying to start your sales, starting to get to kind of that consistent sales point. What the major focus here is figuring out what your audience really likes, what products are their favorite, and what messaging is actually going to speak to them the best. And what you really want to do and what your objectives should be is to try as many things possible to really see what works for you, what you really like, and what is actually providing response for you. I recommend building community above all else because you'll see as we talk about these different stages, everything builds on the previous stage. This stage is setting you up for a more successful stage 2. What we're doing here really is starting to build community, learn your sales process, and make sure before we try to build 10,000, 100,000 followers, really try to get seen, we want to try to grow at a small scale and prove that you know through your sales and your marketing strategy that you know how to make consistent sales. A mistake that I see really often with this building and strategizing phase is that people feel like, oh my gosh, I need 100,000 followers. I need 10,000 followers in order to be able to make consistent sales. That's just not the case. I have people that are exceeding stage 1 with under 1,500 followers. What you need to do is build a community and make sure that you know how to sell to people. You need to make sure that your people and your target audience really love the product and really find proof of concept. Before we try to run ads, before we try to run anything too crazy, spending too much money on customer acquisition, we really want to make sure that you know your organic content is working. Why we start with social media is because this is building a sales process from A to Z. You're building a community, you're building connection with people, and you're getting it where you can have new people come in, you can nurture them into your community, then they can go through your sales process. Stage 1 is all about strategizing. It's all about starting to get to those sales. This is exactly what we cover inside of PTP, which is my signature program to help you get to consistent sales. This is where most of my PTP gals are at, is we are trying to make sure and really figure out what content, what messaging, and what products are really going to sell. It's getting your foundation set. It's getting all of the sales strategy that you need in order to bring people through kind of this seamless sales system. Your major focus for stage 1 is building a seamless sales sales system where you know how to control the sales that you are getting. When you know every time you launch, every time you have a sale, every time you push a certain product that people are going to buy within your community, as well as you know that you have systems set up that when people find you, they are going to convert eventually. Why my major focus in stage one isn't growing your audience. Having more eyes on marketing that isn't going to convert does not mean that it is miraculously going to convert for you. What we need in stage one is sales strategy, proof of concept, marketing, and testing so many different pieces so we then can do it at a higher capacity later. Stage two is the customer acquisition phase. This is for people that are making $5,000 to $10,000 a month, which is about $120,000 a year at most. What the major focus here and what I tell my girls after taking PTP is now that you have a sales strategy, you know people love what you have, you know what content you have to post in order to get people to make sales, you know when you put a new launch out, people are setting alarms and getting excited for it. Now you just need to put more people through your sales process. Now you just need more people to start at the beginning, be nurtured into your community, and sell to them. Why? Is because you still have capacity to sell more when you're making, $5,000 a month. You should at least have the capacity right now to take on more sales. We're not really at new overall problems. The average problem here is how can I get seen? How can I get in front of more people? Because at the end of the day, business really is a numbers game. If you start looking at it, the average conversion rate on social media is 2 to 3%. If you have 1,000 people in your audience, that means you have 20 to 30 people that you're selling to. If you have 10,000 people, you have 200 to 300 people that you are selling to. So at this point, your major focus is on how can we get more people to buy? You know how to make sales. You know how to get people into your world, nurtured into a community, and buy from you. Now we just need to do that more often. This is where you are perfecting your sales process. Because you have greater numbers in this process, you are able to look at it and see, okay, when I post this, this is how it performs. When I am testing here, this is what I get from it. Something that I say very often is that business is a lifelong experiment. You have to be constantly testing and getting more data. What we're looking for in stage two, this customer acquisition phase, really is getting data on what's working, getting more numbers onto your website, getting more people buying from you, and really figuring out what is happening. We're trying to move people through this buying process and get more people into your world. What we're doing here is you're setting yourself up for major growth. Yes, we are looking for more people. The next phase is all about simplifying, automating, and scaling. So what you really want to do is seeing right now, is there anything that you need to remove before that happens? That is something in stage two you really want to look at, is saying, if I blow up my Instagram right now and all of a sudden I have 10 times the amount of orders, what can I not do? What do I have to remove? When I work with my scaling ladies in my product sales expansion, I work with people in both stage 2 and 3 mostly in that program. And the first step really is simplifying. Before we can grow, before we can get a bunch of new people in, we have to look and say, is there anything that we cannot do at 10x what we currently have? At that point, we need to be able to look at it and say that's probably not scalable and find a different way to do that. So stage 2 is all about customer acquisition and simplifying, trying to figure out building into kind of that scaling element, getting ready for that major growth. But if business is a numbers game, you definitely do need more people to be able to consistently scale. Yes, there are other ways to scale your sales. You don't just need to have 10,000 or 50,000 followers, but it is a good thing if you're riding at 1,000, 1,500, by being able to have more people and getting in front of more people. And it definitely does help. This is where a lot of the people are at after PTP. And this is when I start to say, you can experiment with ads. You can see if that does work, but it doesn't make sense to do ads in stage 1 because you haven't verified your proof of concept or your sales process yet. Here, you know that when people find you, they're going to buy as long as they are the right people because we verified that in stage 1. Stage 2, you're trying to create and get in front of people in a lot of different ways. Now we start to get into some bigger numbers here. Stage 3 is all about scaling and streamlining. This is when people are making up to about $500,000, but this is from, $10,000 to $41,000 a month. So that is anywhere from $120,000 a year to $500,000 a year. What your major focus is here, this is the major meat of my product sales expansion program. This is a live program where we work together to scale people's businesses. So we do exactly this. We're simplifying, automating, delegating, and expanding your business. So what we're really looking at is, all right, like you have sales. You've proved your concept. You know people are buying. You know when we have this. We are looking at how can we expand? How can we get more sales, but have it not take more time every single day out of your hands? And of course, yes, we can use technology to automate some things. Yes, we can simplify, as we were talking about in stage 2, is looking at what is not actually scalable, what is taking too much time, what is a low profit margin item that doesn't make sense for you to have, what are some of those pieces that are pulling too much time off of you, and how can we do different things with it? How can we simplify it? How can we automate it? How can we delegate it? And then we look at expanding. So we first have to look at your business in stage 3 and really see what makes sense for us to scale. What makes sense? How can we make more money and still take time off of you as the business owner? Because as you step into this part of your business, you really need to be looking at your business as you are the CEO. You are running operations. What we want to do here is we need to start looking at, can you simplify operations? Can we delegate the making of the product? Can we delegate a lot of different things? If you are in stage 3 and you don't have at least 1 or 2 employees, it is still just you. I commend you, but this is definitely a time where we have to be seeing, does it make sense for us to hire extra people? You can have some employees in stage 2, but stage 3 is pretty necessary, especially as you continue to grow. You have to be set up that your time cannot equal more sales. We have to have it very streamlined. Once you're up to starting to try to make $500,000 a year, you have to be able to have a seamless process. You need to have a well-oiled machine that your products come in, they go out, you sell them, and they kind of just move on through that process. Here you can start kind of looking at larger opportunities. You can look at bigger wholesalers. You can look at big collaborations. You can get to stage 3 just by using social media, but you can definitely get through stage 3 by looking at some retailers, looking at some wholesalers, looking at some collaborations of how can you be seen on a bigger level. Before we really want to talk about more customer acquisition, what we're really looking for here is how can we set up our business to massively expand? How can we set up our business to run without you as the overall creator of your products? You really have to look at it as how can you be more of the mastermind behind the business and create from that sense? Or do you need to be the artist and you hire some sort of mastermind or executive assistant or business manager or something like that? When we are looking at scaling and streamlining, we really have to cut the fat and make it where it really makes sense. You could literally have one product still at this point in your business, especially in stage 1 and 2, you can literally have one product if you want to. I know a lot of you are more of a collection-based business, but you can build a brand off of one product. You could have one major product and still make $500,000 in that business a year. I've seen it happen before. What you have to do here is starting to think about, okay, what is my plan in order to optimize? Are we looking at, diversifying your product suite? Are we looking at trying to really expand and get into retailers, get into big box stores? What are your major scaling opportunities and how can we prepare ourselves for that? And then when we look at stage 4, which is up to $1 million a year, your major focus can be on massive expansion. Expansion really means you grow your business in 2 major ways. Is you either sell the same thing to new people or new things to the same people. So where can we expand? How can we expand in this sense? Are you going to expand on the retailers? Are you going to expand in influencers? Are you going to expand in collaborations? What we're trying to do is get seen and become available on a very large scale. If you don't want to be in retailers quite yet, if you want it to be a little easier of a process where you keep using your streamlined process here, what I would focus on doing at that point really is massive expansion, larger campaigns in your business, utilizing influencers, utilizing collaborations, and really getting seen on a large scale. I want you to think about TikTok, if you're on TikTok, where all of a sudden, this like product you've never seen before is all of a sudden in front of every single influencer, all of your ads, and there clearly are just everywhere. You're like, why the heck have I seen this brand all over the place when I've never heard of them before the last week? That's because they are in the rapid expansion phase, which means they are really just trying to get seen. They're really trying to expand in different ways in order to scale, in order to kind of bloom into different options. This is really where you are diversifying. You're figuring out what to do. Maybe you're adding a subscription model. Maybe you're getting into retailers. Where can you kind of blossom into other areas here? In the expansion phase, you really need to make sure that you have simplified the time it takes to create your product. Now, I know a lot of you listening are handmade businesses. Having a handmade business in stage 3 and 4 can be very hard to do, especially in some handmade businesses that are very tedious. And so we have to look at this and see, is there something that we can scale at an easier level? And do we want to delegate it? Can you hire somebody to make what you make? Or can we start really looking at getting it manufactured in a facility and keep the quality? I think a big misconception here is once you start getting to be this big as a brand that you have been hand making your products, so you're making it with care for so long that when you actually go out and get it manufactured, you're going to lose some of that connection, some of that, personalization to your product. There are plenty of businesses, plenty of manufacturers out there that will absolutely customize that process to work exactly with what your needs are. You can still have that. And a lot of times it is pretty necessary in order for you to be able to hit some of these $500,000, $1 million a year in sales. Last but not least, we are looking at stage 5. This is $1 million and beyond. Really what your focus here is on looking at your business and seeing if there's any way that you can adapt to what customers are really looking for. Again, are you looking for more retailers? You're doing larger campaigns. Once you get to a certain point, business does get cyclical. Stage 1, even with what I just said here, stage 1 is very much so strategy heavy. It's getting strategy. It's getting things in process to actually scale. It's getting people very interested in what you're doing. And then there's a major expansion phase, the customer acquisition in stage 2. This is, okay, let me get these strategies down and then get new people into our world to get us to this next point. And then let's add some new strategy to it. We need more strategy here. And then again, let's expand into other ways. Again, business is a numbers game. When it comes down to it, if you could have, once you have your sales strategy set, once you know people get to your website and they will buy from you, business becomes a numbers game, which means you have to get in front of the right people at a larger scale in order to keep scaling your business. Now, sure, you can diversify your product suite and build it that way, but constantly, which is why people have ads, which is why you're finding new brands all the time, is because customer acquisition is incredibly important. brand. You need to have brand awareness in order to be able to move people through that buying cycle. So first, we have to start your business, get that sales process going, that you feel very solid, that people are coming into your world, they're moving through a sales process online, and they're going to buy from you. Once you know that, we need some more people into your world. We want to start prepping for many different eyes. We get those eyes, and then we have to look at, okay, we're scaling at this sense. Now we want to look at it. We want to simplify. We want to automate. We want to delegate and prepare for even more eyes. Now we're preparing for, okay, how can we get to this next stage? And then again, we are trying to get new people into this new era of business that you have, into this scaling era of business that you are in. And then from there, it really becomes an expansion game. Once you have things kind of structured, once you have things systemized and automated, yes, of course, there are different problems at different phases, but what the major focus becomes is then campaigns and customer acquisition. Your campaigns kind of look like, new products, new product pushes. How can you be creative in your different areas? Think about some of your favorite brands out there. How are they still expanding? When you see them, you're like, okay, where are they expanding? They're probably doing influencer marketing. They're probably launching some new products, trying to add some to their average order value. You're kind of at the beyond a million, at the stage 5. Now that you have strategized and grown, now we are looking to keep on growing because you've streamlined your processes. You've proven all of your concepts. You know that when people come in, they move through. You know that you yourself are not going to get overwhelmed if you keep on upping your sales. The major focus here really is getting new people as well as selling new things to those people. We're really focusing here on community involvement. Some of my clients that I've worked with at this level of business, our major focus is how can we build more customer loyalty? You can get someone to buy for the first time pretty easily with enough intrigue, with enough excitement, with enough content in front of them. You can get somebody to buy once, but how can we get somebody to buy a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth time and really be in your world for the rest of time? We are looking for brand loyalty. We are looking for community development. Looking at this entire process is where you are building and strategizing in stage 1. Then you do customer acquisition in stage 2. Then you are scaling and streamlining in stage 3, and then you are again expanding in stage 4, and then you're expanding on a bigger frame in stage 5. What the major piece to all of this is that you are positive how to get people through a sales process. You are positive that this messaging is going to land. You are positive that when people come into your world, they're nurtured into your community and they're going to buy from you. That is your absolute necessity when starting your business. If you are not yet to $60,000 to $100,000 a year, that needs to be your major focus. And what you can do there is you can literally have one product. You need to create a meaning or a message behind that product, behind your brand that you really, really stand for. And then you need to figure out what it takes in order to get people to buy that. That is what content strategy, that is what marketing strategy, that is what building a seamless sales system is all about. What you have to do is you have this one product, this one concept, and you basically have to learn what exactly it takes to move people through this system. You can't get to stage 2, 3, 4, or 5 without understanding what that sales process is. That needs to be your very first focus. And the best part about it is it is a science. It is a strategy, which is how people like me can sit down and teach it to you, is because I went to school for it, meaning there actually is a school of thought behind exactly how people have done this. That is where you start, and really everything builds on top of it. It is the foundation of building a business, is really understanding 0 through 5K a month. How can we get to that point? And then it kind of becomes, let's get more people into the world. Let's simplify, strategize, and again, get more people into this world. And from there, things just start to become more larger scale. We're thinking on a bigger front. And so if you are somebody that's trying to grow a business for stage 3, 4, and 5, really trying to get into that brand mentality, but you're kind of stuck in that stage 1 and maybe 2, you're like, all right, I know people are buying, but I don't know how to expand from there. We really have to go back to the strategy. No matter what business I sit down with, whether they're making $0 a month, or they're making $10,000 a month, or they're making $100,000 a month, what I ask them is, what is your content strategy? What is the current strategy that you are doing? And what we really see is that the more specific you get with that, the more exact that you know how people are coming into your world, how they're being nurtured, and how they are being sold to, the quicker it actually takes for you to grow. So I wanted to really lay out what these 5 different stages are, because I feel like business can feel kind of elusive. It feels like, what the heck? How am I going to grow this? How is this really even possible? And this is kind of simplifying all of that down. Learn the strategy, expand your audience to move people through that seamless sales system you built in stage 1, and then you scale. You start doing scaling efforts. You start looking at, how can I build a team? How can I automate? How can I use the internet to make sense for me? How could I simplify things that just aren't working for me anymore? And then how can I expand with this new business model again? And how can I keep expanding from there? If you are looking for support at any of these stages, I would love to help you out. Starting into the new year, we have some of our live programs going out, whether you're in stage 1 and wanting PTP, stage 2 or 3 and wanting PSE, which is the product sales expansion, or you are in 4 and 5 and looking for a little bit more customized support. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction, give you some of this strategy, because at every single stage, there is a different strategy, there is a different focus, and there are different things that you have to, kind of objectives that you have to check off of the checklist in order to make the next stage come quicker, as well as come a lot easier. If you try to jump to the customer acquisition phase, stage 2, and not really focusing on the stuff in stage 1, you're just going to either A, burn out, or B, not actually see the results that you're looking for. Especially when it starts to get to scaling, people try to skip the streamlining, the simplifying, and the automating by just keeping on growing their audience bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden, something happens and it's kind of a breaking point, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My Instagram is at thisismadisonpage. I absolutely love hearing from you. We have a lot going on starting in the new year. All of our live programs are launching then. If you want some early bird specials, feel free to DM me and say support. Let's figure out which one works best for you. Otherwise, just come and say hi. It makes my day every single day that I get one of those messages. I hope this was helpful for you, just to kind of get a good general overview of what business growth really looks like. If you have any questions, as always, reach out at This Is Madison Page. I will see you there. I love you. I'm rooting for you, and I'm in your corner always.